The Lvkv-90 is a self-propelled anti-aircraft gun variant of the STRF-9040 or CV-90 tailored to the short-range air defense mission. It's distinctive for the big ray dome on its roof and an extended turret to fit more electronics. It's armed with the same Bofors 40mm 70 caliber autocannon as the standard STRF-9040, although with a higher gun elevation of 55 degrees to engage air targets. As well, unlike the original STRF-9040, the Lvkv-90 can fire 3P programmable ammunition designated Kulsprånggranat 95 LK in Swedish service. This provides different airburst firing modes when engaging both air and ground targets. Aiming is manual, but the fire control does automatically lead the gun. The gun is mounted upside down and fed from 3 8-round magazines for a total of 24 rounds ready to fire. These are replenished manually via a 48-round carousel under the gun, a process involving loading individual rounds into the magazines. Kind of jank. Additional ammo was stored under the turret basket in 9 compartments, bringing the total ammo capacity to 234 rounds. The stated engagement range of the 40mm is 4 km against air targets and 2.5 km against ground targets. The onboard computer is capable of tracking 6 targets at once, fed by a PS-95 search radar with a 14-km range. Each Lvkv is plugged into the Luleå's National Air Defense Network to monitor the airspace. In addition, the original variant of the Lvkv has a real old-school coaxial KSP Model 39C machine gun mounted to the left of the gun. However, on the upgraded Lvkv-90 Caesar and David variants, this was changed to a roof-mounted KSP-58, a version of the Belgian MAG. Speaking of those different variants, Sweden originally received 30 Lvkvs in the late 1990s. 3 were upgraded to the Caesar standard in the early 2000s with modifications for overseas operations. This included add-on armor, reinforced floors to protect against mines, tropical-grade air conditioning, and the roof-mounted machine gun. More recently, 16 Lvkvs were upgraded to the David or renovated standard. But before we get into that, the featured patron and members task force in this video is the 66th Shock Regiment. They have the heavy armor and a weird thing for the Reptar scenes from Rugrats in Paris. But anyway, the newest David standard features a bunch of incremental upgrades and a general life extension. This included new software, a new battle management system consisting of the SLB Combat Command System for battalions, GTRS Joint Tactical Radio System, and ComNode Communication System. Other new electronics like a rear-view camera, infrared imager, radios, radar terminal, LVM control panel, rebuilt electrical panel, POS-2 navigation equipment to replace the NAV-90, and electrically driven commander's chair. While the movement of the coax to the roof on the Caesar was to accommodate add-on armor, on the David it's to make room inside the turret for the new battle management system. Each Swedish Mechanized Battalion has a staff and support company to command and provide combat support to its maneuver companies. This company includes an Lvkv platoon. The linebacker could never. Back in the 2010s, this platoon consisted of 4 Lvkvs but was recently reduced to just 3. I'm told that this is because of the planned expansion of the Swedish Army. Compared to the 2010s, by 2030, the Swedes want to expand their armored force from 5 mechanized battalions and 1 reduced battle group on Gotland to 10 full mechanized battalions, with their 2 non-permanent brigades getting bolstered to 3 permanent mechanized and 1 infantry brigade. With 10 battalions though, 30 Lvkvs doesn't cut the mustard, hence the reduction. They also plan to bring back brigade anti-air companies by 2035, armed with the revived RBS-90 or RBS-70 manpads depending on the brigade. As for the current platoon, each vehicle is crewed by 7 and lettered much like their tank and infantry counterparts: Eric, Philip, and Gustav. Eric is commanded by a junior NCO, generally a furrier, a rank between sergeant and corporal. Above them, overfurriers are rare because of upper-out regulations, and I'm told that there's only a few in a whole company. Philip is always the platoon leader, while Gustav is always the deputy. Now, if we were going by traditional rules, the platoon leader would generally be a junior commissioned officer like a lieutenant or ensign, while the deputy is a sergeant. However, I've been told that they're moving towards specialist officers as platoon leaders because of its technical nature. This would mean Oversergeant or perhaps Von Junker platoon leaders, the latter of which is the usual rank for company sergeants major. Commissioned officers transition to staff and higher command too quickly for their role, so the thought goes, although it still happens. Specialist officers are basically equivalent to senior NCOs in terms of jobs. They fill all the platoon sergeant to regimental sergeant major type roles. However, they're sometimes said to be equivalent to warrant officers because they actually get the same commission as officers. They also have to go to an 18-month-long academy course before becoming a sergeant and are considered a separate class of personnel from the group commander NCOs that are actually grouped under the same category as the junior enlisted, called GSS. As for the rest of the crew, there's a fire controller. While a deputy group leader, they usually rank furrier rather than corporal due to their increased responsibility. Basically, while the vehicle commander directs the movement of the vehicle in ground combat, the fire controller oversees the air battle. In addition, there's a gunner, loader who sits in the back passenger compartment, and driver. The loader is also technically a reserve gunner to provide a bit of depth to the crew, although I suspect that the limitations of the gun are why they're there. The reloading involves taking individual rounds out of a carousel to load the magazine, so it's all a bit finicky, and it's easier to access the remaining rounds below the turret basket from the passenger compartment. But if this situation isn't urgent, the active gunner usually loads. The crew is rounded out by 2 operators for the PS-95 radar and the LULIS National Air Defense Information Network tied in with the Air Force. Everyone other than the commander and fire controller rank any of the junior enlisted ranks depending on their time in service. The unnumbered Meinig or privates are conscripts, and the numbered privates basically stand for their year in service. In theory, Privates 4 can be promoted to Vice Corporal after at least 1 year time in grade. Other than the difference in vehicle commander, the platoon leader in Philip and deputy in Gustav, there aren't any other differences. In the field, platoons of 3 are generally dispersed as individual vehicles among the maneuver elements within the battalion, but this can vary depending on the mission. With the Swedish Army's plans to replace the STRF 9040 Caesars it sent to Ukraine with CV 9035s, I'm unsure if there's any solid plans for the Lvkv 90 as well. The CV 9035 has similar programmable ammunition options as the 9040, with almost 3 times as many rounds ready to fire and an overall larger ammo supply. However, I haven't seen any news about it, and I could see the low-density support variants of the 9040 being a lower priority for immediate replacement, especially ones like the Lvkv with a lot of other systems on board that could fall victim to the might-as-wells. Thanks to my patrons and channel members who allow me to make these videos. Over the next year or so, I want to build the audience-funded portion of my revenue. You don't like watching sponsored ad reads, I don't like making them, and my patrons and members allow me to do things like pay rent without them. As a thank you, you'll get access to my private Discord, merch benefits at certain tiers, these shoutouts, and access to videos right when I finish them instead of when it's algorithmically ideal, all while helping me make videos about unit organization details that only nerds like us care about. I'll see you over there.